We're friends to the end, remember?
This is the end, friend.
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Why don't you just take your mama home some chicken, and then I won't have to stuff my boot all up in your ass?
It's time. Rhino.
Let Neptune strike ye dead, Winslow! Welcome to my nightmare. Let the game begin.
What's going on, guys and gals, and welcome to Good Real Hunting. We hunt for the good reels, so you don't have to. It's your boy Brad. Chris is over here. Brightman's right underneath us. Welcome to Slash It Out. Last week, James Wan's new movie Malignant came out at the theaters and HBO Max, and so we wanted to go ahead and compare this to one of his previous works in Insidious. We expected Insidious to be somewhat similar to the movie based off the trailers when we originally came up with this idea. You know, it might not be too similar after watching Malignant, but we're excited to compare the two and see how it stacks up. Just be in mind, guys and gals, that there will be spoilers for Malignant, so if you have not seen that yet, be sure to check it out and then come back and watch this later. So it should be a really fun time today. Chris and I are actually going to be arguing against each other here. Bretman's going to be your moderator today. Just bear with him. He's having some technical issues down there today. He might not be as crisp as usual, but he's still as crisp in the mind, and he's ready to give us a really good episode here today, and we're really excited about it, guys. This Slash It Out is something we're going to be evolving over the next few little bits, but we have not determined yet who's going to be defending which movie. We wanted to kind of leave that up and let that come out in the episode to make it a little bit more fun. So without further ado, I got a standard issue 1996 quarter here.
That's
I'm
no
going to
good.
flip it. I'm going to flip it, Chris.
97 and later.
All right, here we go. I got a 1996. Okay. I got that's a good year for quarters, apparently. Here's a good one right here. I think this one's going to be the winner. It doesn't even have a year on it, so that must be really new. Oh, 2018. Perfect.
Okay,
all right, so I'm going to let you call it. I'm going to flip it. Whoever gets the coin toss here will get first pick on which movie they want to defend, even though I think I have an idea of how it's going to turn out regardless. You ready for it?
100.
All right, what do you got?
Tails. It's tails.
You should have gone with heads.
No,
It is
sorry.
heads, my friend. Not that I couldn't
Always
have
got to do the
manipulated
opposite
that.
with Brad.
Yeah, I
What?
could have manipulated it a little bit, but I didn't.
Clearly, he cheated. Everybody saw it.
No. But here's the deal, guys. We all know how Chris thinks of Malignant anyway. So, you know what? I'm going to do you a solid. I don't necessarily think that it is better, but, you know, I'm going to go with Malignant on this, and I'm going to go ahead and make that case. And we'll let Chris take care of the Insidious thing here. So that way, you're welcome, buddy. We can go ahead and get rocking and rolling.
But before we get rocking and rolling, I believe we should go to that tail of the tape.
Right, you are,
Reveal
Ted. Let
it,
me pull that.
servant.
Oh, sorry. I got it here, man. Brett, why don't you just, since you're moderating this bad boy, talk to us about this thing, man. What do you think?
All right, and the Malignant numbers are last updated since Monday. So if you're watching this video and these numbers have changed, that is why. These are from Monday of September the 13th. So let's see here. We got Malignant here that came out recently on September the 10th of 2021, and IMDb 6.3. And critics 76, audience 51, which I'm very surprised by. I think to me that is way too low. And then the budget is $40 million, which kind of surprised me. And as of right now, for domestic, it's at $5.4 million. And then with Insidious, April 1st, 2011, IMDb of 6.8, with critics of 66 and the audience of 62, which I think, again, that is too low. And an amazing budget of $1.5 million, and they turned that into $54 million at the domestic box office. That is incredible for a horror movie.
Yeah, which explains why there's 3 sequels now. You know, that's racking stacks, bro.
Brad, what do you think about this tail of the tape? Your quick thoughts on what you see here.
First off, I'm blown away from this budget for Malignant. I would not have expected that at all. Not that it looks like a low budget feature. It's definitely not your typical low budget, horror movie by any means, but $40 million for horror flick is crazy. I'm not too surprised by the Rotten Tomato numbers here on either account, although I do think Insidious should probably be higher for both. I am a little bit surprised that it's not. I think that's a really well-made movie. The audience numbers for Malignant, I could totally see that just based on the nature of the movie. But I will say that I've talked to a lot of people about this movie, and everybody that I've talked to loves the damn thing, except for two people. One's Chris over here, and the other one's my brother. But outside of that, everybody I've talked to is they've dug this thing. But I don't know, man. Chris, you got anything you want to add?
I don't think so, man. I just wanted to say that I was equally as surprised as you about that $40 million budget. I mean, I'm just looking at the disparity between the 40 and the 1.5 they had for Insidious, and it's strange what they can get done with 1.5 million and then versus the 40, which, like you said, it wasn't that it looks like shit or anything like that. Just, I mean, man, that CGI at the end could have been a little bit better. I mean, let's just be honest here, but we'll get into it.
Yeah, we are here. I think it's time for you guys to be quiet at the moment because I am the moderator. It is my show, and what I say goes. So, guys, take some shots right now.
Okay, you want me to take a shot? I'll take a shot.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Save it because now it's time to rumble with my very first question. And let's go ahead and just go like crazy right here. What do you all think which movie had the best villain? And let's go ahead and start with Chris.
I mean, come on, man. Oh, man, what a horrible question right out of the gate. I'm sorry, Brad. You know what, man? You can just dig your own grave. Come on, man. We have a whole surplus of villains in Insidious, right? But of course, we're going to go right off the bat with the fire face, whatever. What are they actually? Lipstick face demon? Is that what he's actually?
I normally call him Darth Maul's crackheaded brother. That's an acceptable answer.
And so, yeah, man, this guy was fucking terrifying. You know what I mean? I mean, of course, you go back and you rewatch it, it can be kind of comedic at times. If you slow it down. But you have to admit, in the moment when you were watching the movie and that scene where he's behind Patrick Wilson, you both had a little bit of a butthole quiver. Am I right? Definitely. And then, of course, if you're looking in the spirit world and the further, I mean, you could technically look at all the, these sort of, these malevolent beings. What do they call them? Spirits. And yeah, technically they're all kind of villains, So you got like a whole army of villains, plus you got the one bad guy there, and you have the lady in the dress, right? Come on, man, it's hard to compete with that.
Yeah, let us come on over here. Come on, man. Let's come on.
Okay.
Let's go. Stop.
Come on, Daddy.
Your guy wants to be called Tiptoes, but you might as well call him Clip-Toes because all he does in his free time is sit up in his room playing his little records and clip his toenails. Like are you kidding me, dude? He's a loser. He's up there just freaking. Come on. Well, yeah, but he's in the
background.
Yeah, like he's got his little music. He's got Tiny Tim going on up there, and he's just got his little nail file out, and he's like, "Oh, let me go ahead and make these nails nice and neat for my friend here, who's chained up." Let's just not get started here. Nice guy and all, but let's go ahead and talk about the real winner here, and that's going to be Gabriel. And I think it's because obviously, have you ever seen anything like this before? I mean, obviously we to an extent, yes, we have, but whenever we get this reveal here towards the end of the movie, first off, there's a lot of intrigue getting built up through this movie Malignant because, it starts off with, with our girl, Annabelle Wallace. She's having the visions of the murders and stuff, and they're brutal as fuck, man. They're brutal murders, but you're also like, what's going on here? You're asking yourself these questions and stuff like that. And you get these little reveals as time goes on, but nothing too crazy, Yeah, some people could pick out the twist a little bit beforehand and stuff, and I'm sure that's fine. But when you get this reveal at the end that the dude's freaking attached rather, not sewn, but attached to her back, and you get this old school Cameron walks around, he's over there like doing all, oh shit. That's what happens when you get little arms in the way. I mean, that was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. And then you add in the fact, they cut out the cancer. You add in the fact that his MO, rather, it's a twin, it's a freaking attached twin going on, controlling the mind, which is badass in its own. He's freaking controlling Annabelle's mind and making her think that she's places she's not, and all this stuff. It's really cool. It's very creative. I think it's something that we haven't really seen before to that extent. But you get the cool ass part where freaking her head's splitting back open, and he's poking his little head through there, and he looks freaking crazy. He's got eyes all fucked up and stuff. And then when he does come out, he kicks ass, dude. He John Wicks the whole freaking police department and the freaking prisoners while in reverse, dude. He's doing this thing like this right here. It could be
argued that is not him.
Yeah, I mean, it's him, dude. That's Gabrielle, dude, for sure. That's not Annabelle.
Madison. Her name is Madison.
That's what I was going for. But yeah, I mean, she totally destroys this whole freaking building here of people. John Wick style, bones getting snapped out, freaking knives being completely destroys. She kills what's his name? Kakoa? She doesn't kill his ass, but like she outruns him big time in reverse. He does. Wild stuff, man. Totally badass. Not somebody I'd be wanting to go up against. You get freaking Elise in here, and she'll take care of freaking Mr. Toenail Clipper boy. But
absolutely not. He basically controls the whole world. Everybody in this world is terrified of this guy, man. And
I'll tell you who's not is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah. What about Qui-Gon Jinn? Terrified.
Well, There will not be Star Wars reference. There will not be Star Wars references being used. That is an unfair rule.
Okay.
So he rules an entire. And then let's think about the lady in the black dress. I mean, she basically can inhabit. Gabriel's just inhabiting Maddie's body in Malignant, right? But check out my chick over here. She's taken over Patrick Wilson. He fucking made short work of strangling that broad to death, right?
Yeah, he did that, but at least knew it was coming. She was just confirming it before. She wanted to leave some evidence, and that's fine. But I mean, Fingernail Boy, like freaking the kid, Dalton. Once they get back to the house and the farther, he goes and hides under a bed for 2 seconds, and the guy leaves him alone. He obviously lets a Dalton get away from him. He's not that powerful.
He's building up the fear. He's biding his time, just trying to get in there into his brain inch by inch. With his little nails, keeping them sharp inch by inch, buddy, getting into the brain stem there.
Elise, all Elise had to do during the little seance is say, hey, let go of this guy, demon. And then he did, because he's scared of Elise. And you know what? If he had little arms, he wouldn't need fingernail clippers.
Okay. I'm finally glad you say fingernail clippers, Brad, because when you kept on saying toenails, the flaming face guy does not have toenails. He has hooves. So that's completely different. So I was going to mark down some points on that for you for every time you kept on saying toenails. No, I'm just kidding. Guys, both very compelling arguments, and that's really tough to compete with. I know my personal answer, but I'm not the deciding vote. You guys who are watching this are the deciding folks. So keep that aware, and please help us make a decision on which movie is the best. But that is a great way to start out. And I got ahead and ready for the next one for you gents. And Brad, you're going to start first on this one. Who was the best actor or actress performance? Like, what was the best performance? And remember, just one.
Okay, I'll try. I'm thinking, here we go. So now, obviously, the Insidious has a lot of great performances in the movie. Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne, freaking Elise, all did very solid. I mean, it's a great core of characters there. But man, I think Annabelle Wallis knocks this thing out of the park in Malignant. She's really got to carry this thing. There's a lot of different things that she has to portray in this thing, because there's on one side of the coin, you have this kind of intense kind of scary movie thing going on, but at the same time now, James Wan made a conscious decision to make this movie cheesy, as a callback to 80s cheese fest, man. Like, that's what this whole thing's about. So not only does she have to tell this compelling story and have that performance in there, but you also got to throw in these cheesy dialogue bits that were thrown in here by Juan and the writers, and make it sound legitimate. And I think she did a decent job with that. And again, she does have to carry this thing on her. She doesn't have supporting. I mean, obviously there's other actors in the movie, but she doesn't have the supporting cast that anybody in Insidious has to help out. You're not bouncing off of Patrick Wilson or Rose Byrne or anything like that. She's got to make it all happen. And there's a lot of things that happen. Obviously that first moment of the film with her husband is obviously a very tense moment. She crushes that. I think she does a really good job with it and really, pulls you in. And another moment in the hospital when she finds out that she lost her child and she breaks down. I thought obviously there she was very compelling, very emotional. But then later in the movie, she's freaking fucking she's freaking duking it out with the whole police station, and again with her back, facing out, and she's doing those expressions as well, where she's clueless as to what's going on. And you get all these moments of fear from her too when she's seeing the serial killer like kill people, and she's like in that trance and stuff, and she's kind of freaking out. And just a lot of really good character moments, I think, too, with her best friend there and Kakoa as well.
Yeah, with her sister.
Yeah, her sister. So a lot of good moments with those two. I think for me, she was a standout, as I knew she would be. She's fantastic, and it's really because there's a lot of stuff she had to do to tell this story successfully, I think.
All right, all very excellent points. I also indeed enjoyed Annabelle's performance in that movie as well. I thought she did a phenomenal job. So, Chris, which actor or actress had the best performance in Insidious?
Man, I was almost going to go with Rose Byrne because at the beginning of this thing, we have to follow her around. Everything's pretty much happening to her at the beginning of this story. She's kind of what grabs you and draws you in. She's, sort of at the emotional core of the movie. But as far as acting goes, man, I really think this goes to Patrick Wilson. All right. And I say that because it is, this story is sort of unfolding for Rose Byrne in the beginning of it. And then he has to come in. He's grappling with the fact that, his wife is seeing these things. His son is acting weird. And, once that emotional momentum sort of shifts in his direction, man, I think he kills it. Because then once that starts to unfold, then he has to come to the realization that, hey, man, my childhood was pretty fucked up. I've got Aunt Edna chasing me around town. It's fucking trying to hold my hand, getting closer to me every time a picture's taken, right? And then I love the scene where Lynn Shay, and the guys come in and basically, she's like, oh, there's this astral plane and there's spirits haunting. And he's like, the fuck? There's the door, instantly. He's like, get the fuck out of my house. And then he had, Rose Byrne is there. And then he goes in there and he has this really emotional moment with his son. And then, she comes in and he's just like crying. And then he has to, the shift from those two, sort of emotional states, and then having to go in and be put under with the metronome and having to, convulse in the chair. I think it was just a great performance all around, man, even though he may not be, I guess it does sort of shift that way by the ending of it. I think that he, the emotional stakes are probably the highest for him as we get to the climax. So I think that he kills it, man. I think he kills every scene that he's in, and he really has to go through, portray a lot of different emotional states throughout. So I think that this has got to go to him, man. Come on, let's get serious.
The only thing he kills is Elise, man.
And he did, man. Whenever he said, oh, "You bitch," why, or whatever it is, like, why did you do that? Why? Yeah, man. And that's just one more, just complete anger and rage. And yeah, dude, I thought he killed it, dude. It's just all, he's all over the place, killing it per usual.
Hey, that's a great performer you just listed there with Patrick Wilson's character. I thought he did a very good job, just kind of like showing a different perspective on how to deal with everything that's going on. And Patrick Wilson is just a phenomenal actor, and he did a great job in that movie as well. So having him compete with Annabelle, that is a very tough matchup and very intriguing. So both sides with very great points. So with this next question, let's go like something kind of like unique that I thought about that I feel like both movies did a really great job of. And James Wan is a master at using this kind of technique in his films. And that is the camera angles that he uses to get certain shots within the movie and certain angles. So please do enlighten us of why your movie does the best job, or James Wan does the best job with your movie with the camera angles. And Chris, we're going to start with you.
Okay, man. Yeah, dude. I love Insidious for this particular reason. I think that they do a lot of great camera work in here, especially with shadows and things. The score helps out a lot in Insidious, man, but the camera work, like whenever it's almost like in some of the dream sequences, the camera just sort of floats in the room, you know. And there's the one scene where it's literally just the guy in the corner, Darth Maul, whatever we're going to call him. I honestly think in the credits he's listed as Lipstick Demon or Lipstick Face Demon or something.
Let's just call him Mr. Tiptoes.
Okay, Mr. Tiptoes. And he's just, you know, he's just pointing to Dalton in the bed. You know the scene I'm talking about, you know, and it's really, it's like, it's not anything that crazy, you know, like he literally just pushed the camera in there, and with the right lighting, it's just creepy because the guy's just a shadow in the corner. You know what I mean? And Insidious does such a great job of that, especially, you know, we saw with the disparity in the budgets between these two, and the fact that they're able to sort of create that atmosphere and create that fear, and that sense of unease throughout, you know, just by the way that they use the camera and the lighting in this thing, right? I think is a true testament to what he can do. And for what it's worth, I think Malignant did a nice job with it as well. But I mean, come on, Insidious. I mean, the whole thing is basically just, you know, roaming around in the darkness, especially once we get to the astral plane or whatever the fuck it's called. Do they call it anything other than the further?
Into the further we go.
Pretty much it's just the further.
The further. Okay, cool. So, yeah, man, that whole place is, is darkly lit the whole time, and you're just sort of floating around through there. Hell yeah. Excellent stuff, dude. Easy one.
Yeah, all right, dude, Brad, your response?
Yeah, I will say Insidious has some of the most terrifying visuals that I think I've ever been put on the film. Honestly, I think the movie still, I've seen it a dozen times, if not more. And every time I watch it, it's still the way these shots, a lot of them are jump scares and stuff, but they're very, very effective. And the way that they do them is fantastic. I think it's some of the scariest stuff Juan's ever put to film. But Malignant here on the other end is not really doing the same thing. It's not really here to scare you per se as much as it is to let you have a good time. Now there's some scary moments to it and elements, sure, but this movie really lets Juan stretch his leg with his style. The substance is there too, I believe, but there's so much style in this film with the way that he uses the camera and everything. You see it a lot with his establishing shots of the house. Obviously, you get some fantastic establishing shots of Seattle as well to kind of establish where this is taking place and everything. And you get some rainy days there, that freaking classic Seattle rain and everything there. Really good shots there throughout of the woods and everything. It's fantastic stuff. But the house specifically, I think is every time you see Maddie's house, you know, he's got an angle to it. It's kind of twisted. It's kind of, you know, I don't know if it ever goes upside down entirely, but it's always got some kind of crazy angle to it when you're seeing it. And it's just kind of adding to that style of this movie of bonkersness and you know, combine it with the score, which we might get into later. And you just have these really cool sequences of seeing her house. And another thing that adds to it, I think, again, this was a conscious decision by Juan to make this movie kind of feel like a throwback to 80s bonkerness, you know. And another thing that he adds to this is the lighting. You can tell when this house is lit that it's backlit out the ass with studio lighting. You can tell, but that's a conscious decision to kind of pull out this cheesiness and this surrealness to it. You know, the opening shot is some crazy ass Game of Thrones castle on the side of a fucking cliff. You know, like he throws these shots in there to kind of add to what he's going for here with this craziness. And I think it's really effective, and it really adds a lot to this movie with the style. And just kind of makes it feel unique and gives it its own kind of heartbeat and things like that. It's not like any other haunted house movie, you know, like Insidious is. You know, you can't compare this to, I mean, you really can't compare this to anything else that he's done. Insidious, you can compare to Conjuring. It's kind of the same. You get a lot of those same things, but it's unique. It's cool. He does so many good things with his establishing shots overall. Another thing I like with him is his foreshadowing that he does with the camera. or lack thereof, I guess you could say false foreshadowing. Like whenever the boyfriend at the beginning, the husband, is walking around the house and he looks into the blender and he looks down there and you get a crazy shot of the blender and it's like, oh, he's about to get freaking blended up, but he never does. Like, little things like that he does really well. And this movie is really at one of his strongest points, I think.
All right, dude, all excellent points there, Brad. I thought Malignant did an excellent job with using James Wan's skills with the camera in that movie, especially one that you forgot to leave off was the one where he shoots like upside, like literally from the ceiling, shooting down where she was climbing up the stairs, going to her room. Yeah, there was a lot of those. And then Chris, as you said, with Insidious, did a great job using that camera, combining with like the lighting and the dark, and like with the shadows and all that, just to make sure it's not too bright. And a lot of that is like shooting that camera at exactly the right spot, so we don't get to see freaking Darth Maul's crackhead brother. So both excellent, freaking. Just great job. You're making this a lot difficult for me to judge and try to be as neutral because y'all are making some excellent points.
Let me one more thing real quick on that, Bert, if you don't mind, is there was a lot of action in Malignant as well, not just horror, but action as well. And I just wanted to throw in some credit for that too, because I think the action sequences were shot very well, particularly the foot chase with Kakoa and Gabriel. I thought that was really good. It really kind of brought me back to the Death Sentence days of James Wan, but that's it. I just had the action was shot really well, unique angles and things like that.
That's a great point. Chris, do you have anything else to entail for the camera?
Yeah, the action shots in Malignant were great, save for the CGI. Come on, man.
Yeah, there was.
That was my issue with that. That was my issue with that scene too. So I can see. I will say
though, for Malignant, dude, I absolutely do love all the shots of the house. And I kept asking myself the entire time, who would fucking live there? I mean, honest to God, that's the creepiest thing I've ever seen. I was like, then I was she should have just moved into the house from. I can't remember the address, but the house from It. You know?
Oh yeah, dude.
How is this so clearly not bad shit happening in that house? You know? Like that's just not even. That's not even funny.
Yeah. And I mean, and the Insidious houses too, man. They're great. They're very like normal, which what makes it makes them a little bit more creepy that way.
That's very good points. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. Brad kind of already alluded to this one already, so we're just gonna let him start it off since he brought it up. Let's talk about that score. Which of the two movies had the better score?
Ooh, dude, the Malignant score was straight dirty. I thought I was watching the ending of Fight Club there a few times at the end with the music that was playing. It was really good. I thought it was real. Again, the score here adds so much to this movie because it's going for this kind of style. And at first, it can be unsettling. Not unsettling. It can be off-putting, I guess, when you're watching this and you're expecting it to be some kind of dark horror James Wan style Insidious Conjuring movie. In the first time some of these scores play, you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't know if you remember the sequence where it's like Maddie is talking to her sister, and she's like, you know what? I was adopted. And then it just starts beating into some crazy ass theme, like rock theme. And I'm like, feels weird. It doesn't feel like it goes here. But as time goes on, I'm like, I really started getting attached to this thing because it is adding so much style to this movie. It feels like a American Horror Story or something, but with a good filmmaker behind it instead of the freaking Anderson guys or whatever the fuck the Murphys. So I think that was pretty cool. It really does add a lot. Insidious, the score is great. It's fantastic. It's definitely iconic and very unsettling. But again, it's similar to the Conjuring score. You know, when it plays at the beginning of the Conjuring movie, it does the violins again and all that. I mean, it's scary. Violins in nature are fucking scary. You can just play them at a high pitch and you're going to freak somebody the fuck out, like without question. So while I think that score is strong and very unsettling, I think the one in Malignant is a little bit more unique and it adds more to the movie. And I think it's a little bit more fresh. And I think it has its own identity more so than that we get in Insidious.
Alrighty, Chris.
I will give you that it is a little bit more unique, but I'll say for me, it was the complete opposite. It took me out of it because, like you said, there's like this rock theme playing through there, and then there's this like sort of techno version of "Where Is My Mind," which of course I love that song.
Yeah,
of course I love that song, but it's like it just doesn't seem to fit there. You know what I mean? It none of it fit. Not an ounce of the score fit, and it just kind of pops up whenever there's like a driving scene or something. There's not like an ebb and flow. I mean, I feel like a score should be present, should be part of the movie, part of the experience of the movie, where it's supposed to take you through there, help sort of, put you on an emotional river, and help you float down through there. And I think that Insidious does that. It is a little recycled, I will say that much. And it definitely, the violins, like you said, have been used time and time again. But I think that it maybe, even though it's not all that unique, it definitely serves its purpose in that regard. I think that it does take you on that sort of subdued, if you will, emotional journey. And it's just like, right under the surface, it just kind of floats along with you there, and it scares the shit out of you. It's extremely effective. When it needs to scare the shit out of you, it does. When it needs to create a sense of unease, it does. When it hits the emotional cues and there's some sort of catharsis there after the climax, it does that for you. And so even though it's a little recycled, it does its job perfectly, and it's perfectly suited to the movie, perfectly suited to Insidious. As where Malignant, maybe he was trying something a little bit different, and for what it's worth, I'm glad that it worked for you, but it just took me out of it, dude. I think it's a subpar score for what James Wan has put out before. I think, for me.
Let me add this to it, Brett, if you don't mind. I kind of harped on this in my first little segment there, but I just want to say how critical this music is to this particular movie, because if you were to rescore this whole movie, you take all this rock stuff out, you do violins and typical horror movie stuff, that's an entirely different movie. I mean, at that point, it seems like it would be a bad horror movie. It seems like a movie that is taking itself seriously and trying to make you scared. And once you get to the twist at the end, you're like, what the fuck is it? Like, it wouldn't make sense if you were doing that. I think it would look like a movie that's trying to take itself seriously that should not be taking itself seriously. And at the end of the day, it would be like, what the fuck? When you make the decision to put in this funky rock 80s, like synth kind of deal, almost, it just solidifies what he's trying to do with his tone and the style that he's going for here, and just let you know throughout the movie that this is going to have this, when you combine it with the weird shots of the house and the weird shots of everything going on, it's just like this music makes you have a good time while watching this movie, in my opinion, as opposed to taking it seriously and being let down with some bonkers shit at the end. You're like, it just makes you feel like you're in a unique freaking ride that really hasn't been done before. As much as it is a callback to 80s movies, like, this just feels like it. I don't know. It just feels like it shouldn't even be a thing, but it is. It's just such a good time, and you're just in it, man. You're in it.
All right, Chris, do you got a response?
No, I don't need one.
Okay. Your overconfidence could be your weakness.
No, that's not overconfidence. I mean, I really just said my piece. I mean, I don't really have anything else to add to it. I think that I made my case pretty clearly, and
okay.
And yeah, I don't have anything else to add, man. I mean, the score for Insidious, like I said, it's not anything particularly unique, but I just think that it serves its purpose, and it does exactly what it needs to do. And really, you can't really ask for anything more from a score than that. More from a score, baby.
Yeah, and I agree with the two big words that we just mentioned right there, with Chris saying it's just with Insidious, with the score, it sold the purpose throughout the entire movie. And I agree with Brad with Malignant, with the score being so unique and so different that it really just kind of draws you in. And so I thought both scores were absolutely excellent, especially for the intros, like for the title cards for both movies. Those scores were amazing and will easily be remembered throughout the horror genre, that you could quickly identify where those scores came from. So let's go ahead and kind of like do for like a 2-for-1. So it's like two questions like combining into one. So, and this is a pretty big topic, so I hope you guys are ready. So, which of your movies had the best third act and had the best twist? So, Brad, I believe we started with you. So, Chris, what about your movie do you think had the best third act and the twist?
Well, excuse me. I don't know so much about the twist. I mean, but the third act for this is complete. You know, is kind of tricks you a little bit because it makes you feel like you've been on the emotional journey with these characters, and it almost tricks you into a sense of catharsis, right? I mean, you get to the end of it and you feel like, oh, everything's resolved. Good prevails and all of that. So as far as the twist, I think it's done extremely well in this because it's something that you really wouldn't suspect at all, or at least I didn't. I think as time has gone on, it's been done a little bit more now. But I remember when this came out and I saw it in theaters, I completely was taken aback by that last second twist, because it really just happens in like the last minute of the movie or something, and you're like, holy shit. And I thought that was kind of great, kind of almost kind of put you in the mind of like the way that the Friday the 13th films used to end. It was always, or at least the first one, and Jason pops back up, or was it the first one, the second one, whatever, Jason pops back up out of all of them. Who gives a damn? And so it kind of, that last second twist there, I think completely knocked it out of the park, and as far as the third act goes, man, I mean, I think the movie sets everything up for it perfectly. It's really, as it moves along, it takes you through there. You have your emotional points with the characters, so you're completely invested once you get to the very end of it. And then, I mean, I guess there is a little bit of a twist in there, another twist in toward the middle about, Patrick Wilson. It's not really a twist, more just so information, I guess. But either way, it puts him right in the center of things there at the end. So I think you care so much. The emotional stakes for him are so high there at the end, and you want him to succeed. And then you get that moment of levity there, and then all of a sudden he's strangling that girl. You know what I mean? And then and then the picture and everything, man. So I think the twist was done very well. I don't. I mean, there's obviously not a lot out there right now is going to compete with what fucking, those little nubs just a kicking back there. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot's going to compete with that, but I think that Insidious, for what it did, I think it did it very well. The emotional stakes were very high, and I think the emotional journey for the characters was complete. It was a complete arc, and then you get your twist at the end of that, and I think that it's perfect for what was for what the story was. I think it was perfect. The third act, anyway.
All righty. Brad, your response?
Yeah, I'll first start by addressing that Insidious, I think, does have one of my favorite endings. I think it's fantastic. It's probably, I mean, aside from Saul, it's probably my favorite one ending to the movie. I mean, I think it's great. I've always loved it. The third act in general is really where I have a lot of problems with Insidious. Not a lot of problems. I still, it's still a very solid movie, but that's where any problem I have with Insidious is in that third act. Once they start drifting off into the farther, I feel like rules kind of get broken. There's new rules you just don't understand the rules at that point. A lot of weird shit's going on. You see little young Josh in the farther. He's in the farther. It's like, how many Joshes are in the farther? He didn't die. I don't know why either way, there's a lot of questions that get raised at the end of that movie. In Malignant, I like the third act for me is where this thing really takes off. I mean, this thing, you don't know exactly what you're getting yourself into throughout the first two acts of this movie, but it's building to something, and you can tell that with the way everything's freaking going. And like I said, the style and shit that I've been harping on this whole time, you just know you're in for some kind of weird ass ride at the end. And that's what we get, man. Of course, there's foreshadowing. There's things in there that would let you know kind of what the twist is. And a lot of people probably thought they had the twist picked out. And I, to an extent, did as well. I thought, the whole time watching the movie that Maddie was going to be, the killer. But when the actual twist came out and we figured out to what effect that she was going to be the killer, I was like, what in the fuck did I just watch? I mean, it could have been an episode of the show, like. And the way it's unveiled is fantastic because she just went to jail or whatever. And you're like, oh no, she's innocent. That girl's been hanging out up there, but the dude brought her up there and all this stuff. And it's like all this cool stuff. And because you never knew who this chick was in the attic. She just comes busting through the thing. You find out that's her mom. All kinds of crazy stuff's going on with that. And then her sister's over here looking at all these videos. And then that's when we see, of course, the epic reveal of Boy on the back just going, "Roar!" Which was amazing. That point, I totally lost it, like I said. But then, like, while that's going on, we see freaking Gabrielle popping out of the back of her fucking skull in this jail cell after when she's getting her ass beat by all these other inmates here. And she just totally freaking wreaks havoc in there, man. Like, you're talking thrill ride, freaking wild ride for the rest of this movie. She destroys everybody in there. She destroys the rest of the police department. And then you go to the scene, the more kind of intimate scene with her Kakoa and the sister and obviously Maddie and then the mom in the hospital room. And I thought that was good. There's another twist that kind of develops there wherever she's controlling him. And I thought that was creative. I actually sold it for a minute. I bought it, not sold it. I bought what they were selling there for a minute whenever he blows the sister's head off and then kills the mom too, I think, or maybe her. I can't remember exactly.
The biological mother.
Yeah. I bought that for a second. I was like, wow, man, they really had the balls to go there. And then the twist comes out and I'm like, okay, that was actually a pretty decent little twist. There's a lot of things that pointed out to what was going to happen. I think even at the there's a scene. Let me just call back to earlier in the movie. Maddie's talking to herself in the bathroom, and she says to herself multiple times, "It's all in my head. It's all in my head. It's all in my head." And I knew that was a conscious kind of thing there that he was going for, a foreshadowing moment. But then when we find out it really is all in her head physically, man, come on now, what the hell?
Yeah, both twists. Kind of like the woman in black taking over Patrick Wilson at the end. Because I thought it was going to end all happily ever after, but it didn't. It easily set up for a sequel, and you definitely wanted more of that, of like what the world, like what happened scenario. So I thought that was a good twist. I think with Patrick Wilson's character's past, I thought that was a nice, like, little layer, like little mini twist, I would like to call it. But Chris, you made a good point. It's more of like just more information to tell within the story. Brad, where I'm going to disagree with you on your point is the whole like mixing up the rules with the further. It's the very first movie, so the rules are kind of fresh, and we don't know what exactly those rules are. So they are establishing those rules within the first movie. But where your point would be better made is if they change those rules in the other Insidious movies. So I am going to disagree with you right there. However, what I do agree, Brad, is your twist was an old big what the fuck. We easily could have done an episode on that. I was losing my mind on that twist as well. And the third act was really strong and played with a lot of emotions and just threw a bunch at you towards the end, where I feel like Insidious's third act, where it's just kind of like easily like just really stick to the story very strong. However, both third acts were absolutely excellent. Is there anything else you all want to add on real quickly before we get into the last topic?
For Insidious, for me, I think I actually enjoyed the first two acts more so than the third act. I think it gets a little weird at the end, but that's it, man. That's just capping off my.
I will say,
aside from the twist at the end.
If I had to change it a little bit, I would have made the interaction in the further a little bit different. But I don't fault it. You know what I mean? I don't think it's fault. I don't think it really goes that far. And as far as Malignant goes, man, like I said, there's not really a lot that you're gonna watch. I feel like that has a bigger what the fuck twist. But I'll be honest, man. I mean, there were so many things that took me out of that movie, and that was just one of them. Because I mean, on the one hand, I'm sitting there and I'm like, actually, this is wild. Like, this is a crazy ride. But then on the other hand, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this is dumb. Like this, I don't know. And I know you guys love it, so I'm not, of course, no judgment or anything like that. For me, man, I was just like, surely they can't be serious. Like, they're not going to go this route. And then
Oh, they win it, my friend.
Yeah, they did, buddy. And then I was like, you can't tell me that, like, while she's watching the video, I knew it was coming. I was like, please don't tell me that her fucking skull is going to crack open and this cocksucker's coming out of there. And then sure enough, that happens too. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know if I can watch the end of this or not. I already, it was sealed in my mind at that moment. I was like, nothing can redeem this.
Sealed his mind, just like Gabriel.
Oh,
So, hey, I had to, even though I'm moderator, I still got to throw a pun in there. So,
I'm gonna add that to the
let's
rules.
go. No, do not add that to the rules.
Moderators can't make puns.
Well, hey, I am the moderator. I make the rules. So, all
And
right,
we will break them.
Hey, you do not interrupt the moderator, good sir. So you be quiet there for a second. So here we go. With my last question, it's pretty much just a simple question, but it's just to spend the last couple of minutes just you all bashing each other, man. And what better way for a question to bash each other? Just simply, why is your movie better than the other? And Brad, we'll go with you since Chris went last time.
Well, I mean, it's
Actually, wait. What did Chris? What Chris? Pull that up again, closer to the screen.
This is why it's better. Yeah.
Oh man, Brad, get back here and explain your movie.
Simple, man. It's a simple answer. I think I'm a fan of stuff that's unique, stuff that stands out. And in this particular case, I mean, Insidious, honestly, is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, if not the scariest movies I've ever seen, at least of the modern era. And it's one that it continues to freak me out every time I watch it, and I love that about it. But it's not as it's just. I mean, it's how many haunted house movies have you seen? You know, like going back to freaking the 80s, the 70s, even going all the way back to The Exorcist. Like, how many times have you seen a haunted house story, to some extent, demon possessions and demons trying to get into somebody's body and things like that. And this one does add a little bit of a nuance or a new element of, the farther.
Haunted. It's the child.
Yes.
It says it right there on the poster. I'm reading it. It's
right,
not the house that's haunted.
That's true. But for all intents and purposes, this would be classified as a haunted house movie, a demon possession movie,
haunting. Definitely.
So, and we've seen it 1,000 times, we've seen it a 1,000 times for sure. We've seen it for decades now. And while this one does add a little bit to the genre with the farther and kind of digging a little bit into that and adding another layer onto it, I think honestly, again, I think that's the weakest part of the movie. Every time I watch it, the first two acts are incredible. There's so much suspense. There's so many scary moments happening. But then you add all this, complex stuff about the farther in the air, and none of it really makes sense. And there's, you get, this whole thing about your boy drifting off and asleep every night, and it's just, it makes it more complicated, more convoluted than any haunted house movie we've seen to this point. Which again, I think it's a fantastic movie, incredible movie. I'm not saying these are huge problems with it, but those are, where my problems exist, is within all that stuff. Whereas Malignant, on the other hand, is just such a breath of fresh air to the horror genre at this point. Even though, like I've said, it is a callback to older movies before, it's still so fresh and so welcoming for me because it's just, it's such a wild ride. It's not like a horror comedy per se, but it's not really a hard school, like a full scale horror movie either. It's somewhere in between those two things. And it stands out for that. It's got so much style to it. Again, it feels like what American Horror Story would be if you had a good filmmaker behind it. And for me, I love that. It feels very much like that. And it's something I think is endlessly rewatchable with the way this shit goes at the end, all the action you get, the ride you have. And I mean, it's awesome. It's great visually. It's great. Everything about it. I really love it.
Alrighty. Chris, why is Insidious better than Malignant?
Man, I think Brad hit some good points there. I think that it's definitely one of the scariest movies that I've ever seen. Visually, and it has been done before, but I think this is a perfectly good entry. You know, it adds something to the genre because it, you know, I mean, the astral plane, all those things, the further, if you will, hadn't really been done before. You know, sure, it's a haunted house, it's been done 1,000 times, but I think that it adds a few ripples in there and it brings something new to the table and sort of reinvented it in a fresh way. For me, that's how I felt when I saw it back in theaters. Whenever it came back out in 2000, what was this, 2010, 11?
2011.
11. Sorry. Oh yeah, you're right. 10 years just came up.
Yeah, and it's, you know, and it's just as scary today. So I mean, it's definitely weathered the test of time. You know, it's still just as good. And I think that it does its job. You know, I mean, it's a good story. There's emotional stakes in it. It's very character driven, and you know, and the scares come sort of organically through the story. And in that way, I think that it succeeds. And Malignant, I don't think it is, for me, it doesn't work. You know, there's too many things that take you out of it. And I never got that vibe of like, I kept wanting to buy into that. Oh, it's supposed to be like a good B movie. You know what I mean? And I wanted to think like, oh, you know, just try and think of it as something that you found on Shudder, you know, at 2 a.m. on a Saturday night or something. And I just never could buy into it. For me, there wasn't any, you know, there was no comedy. There was nothing in there. There wasn't, the music itself wasn't even, you know, I mean, it was unique, but it wasn't like, it didn't feel like an 80s reference to me. It just felt like a complete misfire, you know, it just felt like, oh, we're going to do something different here. And I appreciate that. It just didn't work, you know, like it just takes you out of the story. And then the big twist at the end, you know, like how is he controlling the electricity and all this other stuff? It's like, that's never answered. And it wants to exist in this modern way, you know, and it wants you to be, it felt to me like it wanted you to take it seriously. Like it, you know, it didn't feel like it was this, it was like, too self-aware, you know, like it wasn't a parody or anything like that. There wasn't any levity to it at all. It felt very concrete and serious to me. And that's whenever you get to the twist at the end, and as unique as it was and as bonkers as it is. And, you know, and I respect that. It's still just like I said, it rolls around and I'm just like, surely they can't be doing this. Like and that for me, there was just like no coming back from that. And I was like, it wants to be so serious. And then they're going to fucking pull this little dude, you know, out of the back there. The CGI was shit in some places. And honestly, a horror movie, I could do without the action and all that, you know, but not that it was bad per se. Just, I felt like we could have done without it. So I think that it really tried. And I respected it, you know, this uniqueness. It just didn't work for me, as opposed to like Insidious. Maybe it's not as unique, but for what it is, I think it works very well. If that makes sense.
It's the bonkersness is what I absolutely loved about it. Again, every time it digs a little bit deeper into that, every time you get another twist of chaos, it gets me more and more invested each time. But what I love most about this movie is that it's a slasher. At the end of the day, it's nothing too complicated. Yeah, it's got some crazy fucking twist in there and some weird ass shit going on, but it's a slasher and it's a modern slasher. In today's day and age, you can't slap a fucking mask on somebody and go out there and make a slasher movie. You can, but you got to kind of use what we've already known to make it work, like Halloween and stuff like that. Obviously, those are hugely successful, but like, you know, you're without copying those movies, you can't really do, you know, a fresh slasher. But this did bring some fresh air to the slasher genre because of how fucking weird it was, and the killer itself is just, it's fucking John Wick, man, backwards. It's awesome. I mean, come on now, it's a modern slasher that is compelling enough to do something with it, which is something we've all been asking for years now. So I mean, that's what I love about it, man.
All right, Chris, anything else you want to add on to?
No, man, I'm glad that people like it, and I appreciate it for what it is. You know, it just doesn't work for me the way that Insidious does. So they're really hard to compare, honestly, because we set this thing before we had seen Malignant, because we thought that they were going to be, you know, kindred spirits.
Similar.
They were going to be like, you know, of the same cloth and share the same DNA, and that could not be farther from what we actually got. So they're pretty wild and pretty different. So it's kind of hard to compare the two. But for what it boils down to for me at the end of the day is I just think that Insidious works, on a level much higher than Malignant did, and I think that's for me. That's my closing statement, if you will.
All right, and Brad's closing statement is tiptoe through the window with me. Me?
It's a question mark. I was asking if one of you guys would like to go tiptoe through the window with me.
I will.
Oh my gosh, you're disqualified. You're disqualified. You're disqualified.
If you trim your fucking fingernails.
Tiny Tim is creepier than fucking Darth Maul, though.
All right. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much it. That just so even for me. I'll be honest with you. I really can't decide. I feel like both movies offer something differently unique. And while they're just really on the same level, it's just both movies are fantastic. So we will easily, guys, need your all's help to decide who the winner is. When we release this video, I'll be sure to post a Instagram post on where you all can vote, along with our Facebook page too, where you all can vote as well, because we really want to make this competitive, and we really want to get those W's and L's in check. So before we close out, real quickly, how would you rate both of these movies? And then I'll go last. Brad, you win. Chris, you go ahead. What are your ratings for both of these movies?
You mean to rate both of them?
Yes, real quickly.
Okay, I give Insidious a 4, and I give Malignant a 2.5.
Damn. Okay. Whew.
Do me dirty.
Brad. What do you think there, bud?
So I'm actually going to give Insidious gets a 4.5 in my book, and I'm going to give Malignant a 4.25. Now that we're done with the argument piece of it, I think it is a better movie, but Malignant's absolutely one of my favorite movies this year to come out.
Yeah, it really is. And with my score, real quickly, I give both movies a 4.5 out of 5. I thought both of them are absolutely spectacular. And James Wan, bravo, sir. We definitely need you back into that horror chair. So, guys, that is it. Just one last question. Who do you all think won this slash it out between Malignant and Insidious? Did Chris do a good enough job to defend Insidious to beat out Malignant? Or did Brad do a great job of defending Malignant to outbeat the Insidious? Let us know in the comment section down, or well, for me, up below. And let's get that discussion rolling.
And if you want to find the good reels, you can do so by finding us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, Snapchat, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and TikTok. Those links are in the description. Be sure to go over to Facebook, though. That's and Twitter. Those will be putting the polls, and I don't know if we'll put them anywhere else, but to determine
Instagram
and Instagram as well. We'll use that to determine the winner, and the winner of this episode will go on to be the moderator for the next one that the three of us are in.
Be sure to like this video, share, and subscribe. And of course, ring that bell, ding, 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 so you know when the next Slash It Out and feature videos are up and ready.
But you are, and we're going to go tiptoeing now, hopefully through the window, and we'd love for you to join us.
Absolutely.
See you guys.
Cut your fingernails.